You can be selling the right items, but still not be making sales, because on eBay, buyers are not searching in the way that most sellers think they do. They're not always typing in brands. And a lot of the time, they're searching by aesthetic, by style, the fabric, specific details, and even random words that most sellers completely ignore. And that's why two nearly identical listings can have completely different results. One sits for months and months and sells for a little of nothing, while the same exact item sells fast and for more money. Well, my name is LeeMeier, and after making over $100,000 net profit selling used clothes online, I started realizing that some of my best sales had almost nothing to do with brands. It was the keywords. And in this video, I'm going to show you some of the hidden clothing keywords that buyers are already searching for on eBay right now, including real examples of sold items that can completely change how you look at sourcing and selling used clothes online. Let's get into it. Steampunk, and this is kind of a blend of Victorian as well as Industrial Revolution. And the first item that we're going to be looking at, it has a little bit of a military, is how I would describe that, a military look to it with those buttons and the lines across, as well as that high collar, but it does still have that steampunk look, and it can kind of overlap a little bit. So you do notice that they did use both keywords there of military and steampunk. Again, use multiple keywords, infuse them. That's what gets your listings sold. That one sold for $227 from DKNY. A pretty common brand, not a what I would call a high value brand, a decent brand, but most items aren't selling for that much, but because of the keyword. Next are long tail, and you'll see this on jackets, maybe even shirts, where it's longer cut in the back. And so this one, it does have some other details that are popular. We're going to be talking about here in a second with this look, but that one sold for $55. And you'll see that in some mainstream brands as well. And then next is velvet. So velvet is very common with the steampunk look. You're going to see those, that button detailing and that high collar again. And this little velvet jacket, this one went for, let's see, tag there. It is a Lucky brand, which is, okay. It's not super high end, but that one went for $52. And then, lace up details. So I put this one on here. This is from Soft Surroundings, which is a pretty solid bread and butter brand is what I would call it. It usually doesn't sell for tons of money, but this one did sell for $69 because it does have that lace up detail there on the back. These are not very good pictures. Remember to use a lighting kit. It is well worth your money to be able to get a lighting kit and take good pictures. There are lace up details there on the sleeve. I will link down below to the lighting kit that I use. You'll find that in the description. So $69 on Poshmark for that Soft Surroundings. And then corsets. You're going to see corsets in another couple of the aesthetics that we're looking at. So they can fall within multiple of these aesthetics. But this one has a little bit more of that steampunk look to it because it has some of that ribbing, the lace up detail there. That one went for $60 from a Hot Topic brand. And then metal details are really common with the steampunk look. This one happens to be from Harley Davidson. This little halter vest is what I would call that. And with those grommets, you can see those grommets there along the front of that, along both sides of the zipper. That one went for $62. And then this one I threw up here. I wanted to ask you about this. Let me know in the comments down below if you think that this falls within the steampunk aesthetic. I personally don't think that it does, but it was put in here in the title. It is a brand that's, it's not anything special. It's called Studio Y. Pictures, again, are not the best, but you may have seen this brand before. And that one went for $50. That is literally the only keyword that they use. They use some in here, puffy sleeve, but there's not a whole lot of other keywords besides steampunk. So let me know in the comments if you think that's steampunk or not, but it did still sell for $50 using that keyword. Next type of item within steampunk are tall boots. And so this pair of boots, this one went for $50. I do see they put some other keywords in here that are good to use, like cosplay. And I just did a quick comparison for this brand. It's called Do Farina, but I did pull up some other sold items on Poshmark on the same platform where there was sold. So you see there's a pair there for 50, but there's other items like a pair of pumps here that sold for 8, pair of shoes there for 17, 16. I'm seeing some more of those boots. Another pair of shoes here for $4, $8. So not, a big dollar brand, but because of that look, those boots sold for more. And then ankle boots. So this one, you're going to see that button detailing again, and some of, really kind of a little bit of a ruffle, not too much. I blanked on what word it is. I'm looking for subtle, I think. Subtle ruffle there on these boots. Those ones went for 52 from a brand called Eric Michael. And same kind of story with this. When you look at solds from this brand, they're not selling for a whole lot. So it looks like this pair is new with tags that went for 7. Some here, those are brand new for 40. You're seeing $15. $20, 21 pair for 7. So it really is about the look and the style. And then Crown Vintage. So another little pair of ankle boots here. And these are actually pretty worn. Those ones sold for $85. And same kind of story with this. When you look over into the solds on Poshmark, you're seeing $12, $13, $5, $12. So moral of the story, it definitely pays to use those keywords. All right, the next aesthetic that's really trending right now is Whimsy Goth. This is an express dress, another mall brand. This one sold over on Mercari for $118. And what you're looking for with this aesthetic, with this dress that we're talking about, is that velvet. So you're going to see that velvet detailing here. And that is really big for the Whimsy Goth look. If you're wondering what Whimsy Goth is, it is a subculture, like a group of people that identify together. They maybe dress similarly. And it's kind of a mix of goth and witchcore, but it's not either of those. It's its own subculture. I did have to look this up because I did not know this, but there's lots of different subcultures like this, and they make really good keywords to use, and they end up trending because people will try and, fit in with that look. And so this happens to be one of them. And then another feature from this look is lace. This is a dress here. I'm going to just quickly scroll through some of these pictures, but you can see all of the lace that's used on this dress. And this one sold for $202. This is, I want to point this out because this is really important. Brand and material tags are missing. A lot of resellers will just not even pick up an item if there's no brand tag, if there's no size tag, if there's no material tag. This seller was smart enough to pick this up, still list it, put those measurements, but that sold for $202, even with those missing tags.
Real quick, if you're getting frustrated with seeing your items just sit, or you're not making as much money as you know that you should be, and you're ready to see that turnaround this week, that's exactly why I created the Empowered Reseller. Inside, I show you how to get your items found and turn what you already have into faster sales and higher profits. So instead of guessing, you're turning what you already have into real money, and you're making more money on every item moving forward. Plus, you get support, real help when you need it, and you're not stuck trying to figure it all out on your own. And every month you get a deep dive into a proven clothing niche, so you're never passing by profitable items again. If that sounds like something you'd like, click the link below or head to empoweredreseller.com to see what we're diving into right now and to join us.
And then the next, bell sleeves. So we hit on bell sleeves with the Y2K look. And so this is going to be one where you see in multiple aesthetics. Again, put multiple aesthetics. It's not going to hurt if you have 3 to 5 aesthetics listed for an item as long as it fits within that look. And so this shirt, it's called Speed Control is the name of the brand there. This is kind of, another one of those no-name brands. It is, it's out there, but it's not, big ticket item. But that one did sell for $56 because of the look of this, and they did use fairy in the title. And then the other thing to look for with this look is satin or silk. And with this is a beaded dress here. I do want to point out that this dress sold for $800, and this is a brand Adriana Papel, or their line Papel Boutique is actually what this is labeled as. So I went ahead and pulled up from that same boutique line other solds, and we got a jacket there for $8, dress there for $49, $34, but nothing selling for $800. But because of that look, that dress, and because the seller used the right keywords down here in the description as well as their title, that one went for $800. Like, that's an easy way to 10 to 20x your investment, to 10 to 20x your revenue just by using keywords. To look for with this aesthetic is mesh overlay. You've seen this in a couple of the dresses that I've already showed, but you can get a pretty good picture of that there, how there's mesh over the top. And that one went for $150. That's from BCBG Maxariza. Definitely a brand that you want to use caution with. Everything does not sell for this much, but just because of the styles and the keywords that were used. And then here's another example of a mesh overlay dress. This one went for $150. This is from a brand called Morgan and Company. And I did go ahead and pull this up within Mercari, which is not the best search engine, but you're seeing, $16, $24, $28, $18. I'm not sure if that's actually one from the same brand, but not big prices like $150, but because of that look, that's why that sold for that much. The next thing to look for with the Whimsy Goth aesthetic, there's another dress there with that overlay and tulle. The next thing to look for with this aesthetic are skirts. This is an example of a skirt here that has that kind of look. You're noticing as you're seeing these, a lot of them are dark colored. It doesn't necessarily have to be black, but this is more of a darker colored skirt. And this is from Coldwater Creek, so a brand that most items probably are not worth reselling, but this one did go for $32 because of the keywords Whimsy Goth, and you may also see dark fairy, so that can be a pretty good overlap with the Whimsy Goth look as well. And then the next thing to look for with this aesthetic are chunky shoes. And you're going to notice that these may, overlap with Y2K as well as, a lot of these looks that we just looked at, like that bell sleeve. This pair of shoes, this is from Zara. Those went for $52. And then we got a pair of Clarks that sold as well. And Clarks don't normally, most of them don't sell for this much. So $59. They are kind of a patent leather, the shiny leather. And so those went for $59 on Poshmark. And then the next thing to look for with this aesthetic is a corset top. And so this is an example here. This one sold for $60. See if I can get a look there, but you can see kind of that corset detail, that milkmaid top, kind of a square neck with the ruffle across the bust. That is big for this look as well. So that one went for $60 on Mercari. The next aesthetic that's trending, and there's lots of trending aesthetics. I just have, I'm only covering a few in this video, but this one is the Fairycore aesthetic. And this, you're going to notice again, a lot of overlaps with Whimsy Goth, as well as a little bit, maybe even of Y2K. The Fairycore look has a lighter look to it than, say, the Whimsy Goth that we just looked at, lighter in color, sometimes a little bit lighter in the materials as well. This one is a jean skirt. It's got that hem there. And so with this aesthetic, I'm seeing a lot of the asymmetrical. So you're going to notice that that hem is a little bit asymmetrical, as well as the kind of ruffle or flaring at the bottom gives it a little bit of a feminine look, and that is very typical of the Fairycore. Is it's a little bit more on the feminine side. And this one went for $50 for kind of an off-brand jean skirt. with that look. Another example of a jean skirt here that has those tiers. So anything tiered, whether it's a top, a skirt, a dress, that's going to be another look that can fall within that fairy core or fairy aesthetic. And that one went for $60 on Poshmark. And then another one on Poshmark. And I thought this was a really good example of the textures that are really that can be make up part of this aesthetic. So you're going to see with this top here that there's texturing of crochet along the top. There's some, I'm thinking they're beads. There's some darting here in the blouse and the top, and that one went for $60. But it really does have kind of a three-dimensional textured look, and that can be really common with this aesthetic. And then florals are also common within the fairy core aesthetic. And this dress here, you can see it's just kind of a light pink. They did point out, again, no material tag, no size tag. Most resellers would pass that by. This person did pick it up and it sold for $35 because, you know, they used those. And you'll notice that they used Whimsy Goth as well as Fairycore, as well as feminine. They could have used that romantic keyword that we talked about earlier. And then that sold for $35, even without any sort of tags on it. Another example of floral, this is a brand called Robbie B, which is not a particularly, great brand. It's right there. It is 100% silk, so that does help the price a little bit, but it definitely has that feminine look to it. They did use Fairycore in there. That one went for $50 on Poshmark. You'll also notice rhinestones with this aesthetic. So this is an example of a dress here. It's got some rhinestone detailing on the front. I'm going to zoom in on that, some beadwork there on the front. And that one sold for $50 on Poshmark. It is a 9 West and it is silk, so that can help a little bit, just the fact that it is a nicer quality material. And then next feature to look for with this aesthetic is tulle, and that's that kind of mesh material, and you're going to see all of those layers that are within that skirt. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see that a little bit better, but just a lot of layers in there, and that one went for $54. The next feature to look for with the fairy aesthetic is that bell sleeve again. So you're seeing how huge that bell sleeve is right now in a lot of these aesthetics. And there's that sleeve there, and you see how wide that is. And it does have a little bit of that floral print as well, which is common with this aesthetic. That one went for $35. And then again, that corset. So that, again, another one that's showing up within multiple aesthetics. Go ahead and use multiple aesthetics if it fits within those. And so this is an example of one here. And you're seeing that lace up detailing along the top. As well as some lace and floral mixed in there. And that one went for $85 on Mercari. All right, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, go ahead and give it a like, as well as consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video soon.